All right, friends, here we are now. Welcome to this next episode brought to you by, and I got to be fully transparent with you all because I value that integrity and transparency. I'm a fucking sellout. I sold out. I sold my soul to the bean. Today's lesson is brought to you by coffee. Now, I do want to add in there, and I think this is an important teaching point, actually, is I ask my soul, I don't drink coffee every day. Sometimes I go through different spurts. And I know for some people this may fucking sound ridiculous, but for other people that have been a slave to the bean, and for those people that think this does sound ridiculous, you may be a slave to the bean. But for those that have come from that place and have, because I used to be addicted to pre-workout when I was really getting into lifting, to the point, I remember there was a few sessions that I literally, I skipped training because I ran out of pre-workout. And then once I realized I had a problem, then I moved to coffee. Because, it's like, it's natural, it's blah, blah, blah. And then I did the same thing. I got addicted to coffee. And then I had to wean myself off of coffee, and I had there's a good period of time, a few months, where it literally nothing, because I was, and again, I was addicted. I had to come off of it. And then I slowly reintegrated it. And the big key here, and this I think ties into lesson 22, actually, the sound of silence. The big key here is connecting with my soul and seeking the guidance from that intelligence. As if you may notice, I'm a little sick today. And sometimes when I experience this, and first and foremost too, I used to be scared of getting sick. Not so much of actually being sick. It doesn't bother me that much, but almost like a pride ego thing, because it's like I'm supposed to be this fucking bill of health, and I get sick, and it's like, well, fuck, I'm out of balance. Shit's fucked. I'm not healthy. All the stories can pop up. And what I have noticed, and you'll kind of see how this all ties in here, maybe not, but whatever. What I've noticed is that there are times when it's, I am pushing myself, or maybe my diet's a little off, or my sleep is off, or whatever the case might be, different circumstances, to where then I would get sick, and it'd be pretty obvious where my body is like, bro, sit the fuck down. Okay, chill out. Sit the fuck down. I've had that before, but honestly, it's been a little while since I've had that. What I have noticed, and there seems to be a pattern here, and another little side key within the key is just noticing patterns, and noticing patterns not in the sense that you're trying to change the patterns per se, but just noticing patterns for the sake of noticing patterns, okay? Because that awareness in itself can give you a lot of insight. But again, not coming from this place of I'm just trying to change things to match my ego's desire of how I think things should be. It's more of I'm just noticing what's going on. But I have noticed a pattern, when the seasons change. So this happened again in April, and it's usually the same shit with me. It's like I guess you can call it a little head cold, where my nose will start just running like a faucet for a day or two, and then then I'm good. So similar thing, in April that happened, and then obviously right now, kind of on the tail end of it, and being very mindful within that is obviously when you're sick, or your body's under that kind of stress, or going through that kind of thing, having the mindfulness to know, okay, when do we need to rest versus when to push it, just like in training. There's times where you feel like shit, and you need to listen to that and slow your roll, bro. Calm down, take a step back, chill. And then there's other times you feel like shit, and it's like, no, this is where you're supposed to be, and it's time to fucking send it. Like, gas the bitch. It's a saying that I've just been saying lately. So excuse the maybe slightly obnoxious sniffling, but whatever, bro. So where I'm at right now, coming full circle, why this is brought to you by coffee, is I asked my soul, should I have coffee today? And I had to sit there and really quiet myself because I fucking love coffee. And so the ego is it's the one thing when you're working with your soul and establishing that line of communication, is the ego is very clever at impersonating the guidance of the soul. So I had to, you got to really still yourself and not necessarily search for an answer, but just allow an answer to come through. And so I sat there and kind of asked the question, and I literally do this. Like, I asked the question to myself, should I drink coffee today? And I got a yes. It's like, okay. And it was a similar thing yesterday with training, because this is for me right now, as I'm recording this is a peak week of training. So it's like a fucking send it week of training. And obviously, getting sick in the circumstances, there could be the side of it where it's like, okay, calm down, bro, take a step back. But as I feel into these things, and again, the importance of having this line of communication, that it's always there, just paying attention, being able to connect with your soul, at least that's my language behind it, is then you can get that feedback of, okay, well, it's peak week. I'm really supposed to be pushing it. Should I still push it, even though this is how I feel? And even yesterday with training, the answer was yes. It's like, okay, fucking send it, bro. Here we go. Say less. And so today's kind of the same thing, where I'm in the middle of this like heavy week of training, and obviously recording these lessons, and really wanted to bring my best to the table here. So part of the coffee is like, I know, even though, yes, I may be feeling a little under the weather per se, but then obviously the coffee just fucking ramps the system up. And under other circumstances, it could be like, no, you need to chill out, bro. Like, you don't need to fucking add coffee and essentially just add fire, pour some gasoline on it. But in this circumstance, it's like, no, you need to pour the gasoline on it, and you need to show up, and you need to be here. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. And that's where coffee comes in. That's why we're here. And here it is, y'all, with the special Benedict Orthodontics. Okay, so with my 8 minutes of procrastinating, we're going to get into it today. So as I was talking about on the last lesson, we are getting into this territory where your boy's a little less sure of what's going on here. Because like I explained in the last lesson, when I first started this course, I was comfortably many lessons ahead in my own life. And now, as we are coming to a close on this course, it's like I'm right here with you all, like learning and implementing, which has kind of been cool in a way, because it's kind of even lit this extra fire of like, yo, bro, if you're going to teach this shit, you need to have it on. It needs to be implemented. You need to be doing this shit. Because I don't like I don't like teaching shit that I don't do. I think that's, I don't know. I think it's fucking stupid, because who am I to share just a bunch of theories and ideas about stuff if it's not practically working? And Laird Hamilton is a famous surfer, said, he's quoted saying, at least, the truth is what works. And that's powerful. That's something to meditate on, because we get so lost in these different ideas of, this person said that person said this is the best diet, that's the best exercise, your morning routine should look like this, you need to do this kind of meditation, and blah, 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 take these supplements, all kinds of shit. But then you ask yourself the question, is that working for me? Powerful question, honest question, sometimes hard question, because you got to look at yourself. And the truth is what works. So if that is the truth for you, which again is relative, based on time and circumstance. Like there's fundamental capital T truth, which in a sense we can't even talk about because as soon as we try to put words to that, we miss the point. And then there's relative truth, which is what's true for me right now in this moment within these circumstances. Okay? So the truth is what works, y'all. So I like to bring you what is actually working. Okay? So this lesson, extending your service. So this is where now we are branching out. We have filled our cup up. If you've been going through these lessons and you've been taking action, yes, there may still be a lot of work to do on yourself. And that's always going to be the case. Like we're always a work in progress. That's the beauty of it. We're never a finished product here. But at a certain point of working on yourself, of developing yourself, of establishing these systems for yourself, it becomes a natural extension to want to extend yourself in many different ways. And again, this is kind of a natural thing because as you're nurturing these different areas of your life, so this goes all the way back to the life types, y'all. As you're nurturing these different life types, these different characters that you play within your life, they expand. They get bigger and they get bigger and they get bigger to the point where now these different elements of your life are now extending beyond you. But the paradox is it's you yourself are extending and you are seeing more and more of yourself in everything else as you are expanding. Okay. And so as it relates to how you show up in the world and how you serve, what we're really trying to do here is create your path of service that is ultimately just a natural expression of you being you. That's like the theme of this whole damn thing. It's like we're trying to be you, or rather you are trying to be you so well that you being you is the best thing that you could possibly be doing for the rest of you or everyone else, if you want to see it that way. And as I was coming to this, because again, this is been a natural extension for me. Part of it is one, asking the right questions. So one of the fundamental questions that I began asking is, how do I serve others to the highest level possible? And notice that that question is vastly different than, how do I get people to pay me a bunch of money? And that is the question that I was operating on. And I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs especially, operate on. And understandably so. That's just kind of how the paradigm of our current economic business model is based upon, is how do I get other people to give me a shit ton of money, which is not a bad thing. This isn't right, wrong, good, bad, because in our current paradigm of that, if I can get people to give me a shit ton of money, then I have the resources, because that's just how the energy flows through that medium of these different promissory notes, these Federal Reserve notes. Again, we talked about all this before. And that allows you to then create other systems to essentially use those resources, use that energy to create a better and better service. Okay? But things are changing. If you haven't noticed, y'all, things are changing. And I know from my perspective, it might be a little different because I definitely recognize that part of my job is to kind of live within the veil, if you will, and being a bridge to both sides, meaning like being fully aware of the current game, the finite game that we are playing, and playing it to the highest level possible, while at the same time having the perspective of the infinite game, that is being played. And on a more practical level, it's recognizing, okay, this current system is operating like this, where we got these different businesses and we're all kind of competing against each other. And, we use all these different tactics of persuasion and negotiation, and sometimes even a little bit of deception and trickery. And, a lot of it can come out of a good place, good intention. But it's all based around this concept of like hierarchy, and we need to have this exchange of money, and business isn't even a business if it's not making money. I mean, that's literally the definition of a business for all practical intents and purposes here. So that's like the current game that is being played. And then what is coming through, again, at least from my limited perspective here, what is coming through is, as human beings are waking up to our connection of all that is, of all that we are, and even just, again, at a basic level, being able to recognize that our actions and thoughts and deeds and words have a direct impact on our environment and on other people. And our intent is very big and has a much bigger impact than what we may have previously thought. And therefore, how we structure our business and our different organizations, things that are involving the community and other people, and how we are called to serve, is moving more and more to a place of I believe the term would be a heterarchy, or even a synarchy, if you will, instead of a hierarchy, where essentially the power is distributed throughout, where it's no longer, we have like these big moguls, these big monopolies that are just trying to take over everything and consume everything. It's now the focus is empowering the people, empowering each individual to express their own genius, to tap into their own genius, and create systems and create an environment for them to maximally express that genius in a way that is to the highest level of service to themselves and others. Because not one person has the right perspective or the right truth. We all play an integral part, and that even moves beyond just us as human beings, as a species, Homo sapiens species. That is Gaia as a whole, this interconnected web of life, and how this is all connected. And again, like as our individual consciousness and collective consciousness, or I would say even awareness rather, of the consciousness that already exists, of that connectedness, is growing, the way that we have do things, the way it needs to be different than the way that we have done things if we want to continue to move forward. Because what is happening, and again, like this isn't like right, wrong, good or bad. Even what I'm sharing, it's not like this is the one way that this has to be this way or else. It's just what I am recognizing is honestly just, it's already happening. Just in the same way that awareness, without necessarily anybody even trying to grow their awareness, which is kind of a paradoxical statement in itself, awareness is growing. Just in the same way that we have evolved up until this point where, single-celled organisms recognized that by coming together, cooperating together, that now there can be multicellular organisms. And then that, without getting the whole spiel of evolution, that transpired and evolved into what you're witnessing today. Like we have these human beings, and we can interact with each other, and we are essentially nature's extension of the awareness that has grown to the point of now nature's awareness being able to become aware of itself. And that's another thing to contemplate on what I just said there. So all of that is to say, things are changing, and a new kind of way of doing business is emerging, where the goal isn't just to try to extract as much as possible from people, even if it is out of a good heart. The goal is to give as much away and to empower people to be the best that they can be, knowing that that empowerment is what allows us to all thrive and is what allows us to all access the abundance that is already here. Because if you think about it, the intention of I need to get something out here so that I can do a certain thing, there's this subtle implication of scarcity, and that what you are seeking, you don't already have. And again, the truth is what works. And obviously, if you look around, some things are working, but a lot of things aren't working too well. And so what's the definition of insanity? Continuing to do the same shit, expecting different results. So if things aren't working too well, then things need to change. And that comes back to asking the right question. So the question, going back to that fundamental question that I asked, how can I serve at the highest level possible? When I really kind of sat with that question and allowed whatever to come through, ultimately what I came to is me being able to serve at the highest level possible is a direct reflection of me being able to develop myself to the highest level possible. Because I can't give what I have not given and allowed to be received within myself. It's like, if I haven't learned to love myself, how can I expect to give love to anybody else? How can I learn to love another? Okay? So you can't give what you haven't given to yourself. And it's a two-way street too, because when you allow yourself to receive what is already here, that then expands what you are able to become aware of within yourself and therefore give yourself, which then reciprocates itself back out to the receiving. It's like this continuous two-way street, because remember, it's all the same shit. Okay? It's all connected. But either way, I recognize that my ability to serve others came down to my ability to serve myself. So then I had to ask the follow-up question, how can I best serve myself? And ultimately what came through from that is me being me to the best that I can possibly be is the best thing that I can do for myself. Because me being me is what allows me to tap into and then express and then channel my unique genius, which is my holiness, if you will, the God within me that is me, my soul's expression, to be able to then express that out into the world. And then me being able to have that for myself is then what allows me to give that to others. Just like there's a saying, to a Buddha, everyone is a Buddha. To a Christ, everyone is a Christ. Because how you view is what you see. So when you are able to see within yourself the possibility and the potential and realize that potential, that is what you see. You see that potential in everyone else. Because the limits that you place upon yourself of what you believe is possible for yourself, you, to some degree, you will project those limitations onto everything and everyone else. And on the other side of that, the more you are able to see within yourself and the more potential you are able to realize within yourself, the more you will see that in everyone else. And the thing here is you don't necessarily have to do anything to be of the highest level of service possible. And I know that can be a little tricky to kind of wrap your mind around. And it even still is for me now. But really, When you are playing the game of just living your life and expressing yourself, whether that's through arts, through gardening, through writing, through raising kids, through being an athlete, or maybe even all of the above, you are tapping into and realizing your fullest potential. And that in itself is the service. I was reading a passage today from Gene Keys that actually talked about leadership. Very pertinent today. It's the seventh Gene Key. And one of the sayings in there, which is a quote, which I believe is from the Tao Te Ching, is virtue is its own reward. So even the feeling that you need to be of service to another can be this subtle trap that prevents you from being the best that you can be. And another way that I like to think about this and kind of what helps solidify this for me is if we think about really great artists, whether, like painters, composers, musicians, whatever. If we think of really great artists, those are some of the most influential people in the world, currently, and, even people that are dead that are still influencing the world. And even if you think of if Jesus Christ, and if you really dig into his story, he wasn't really like serving and helping others because there was just this again, ego. The ego was like, I need to help others. I feel this lack that needs to be filled by helping other people. The service was just a natural extension of his beingness, which at the same time is what allowed him to be of such a high level of service. So again, if you think of different artists, they're not actually like doing anything. They're not coming from this place of, I need to help these people. These people need my help. You don't fucking need my help, bro. You have everything you need already within you. So the best thing that I can do is to just share and show the potential that exists within you. And the best way that I can show you the potential that exists within you is to be an example of the potential that exists within me, because it's the same thing. Okay? So I want to solidify this by sharing the 4 different levels of what I feel like is the game of life, which is ultimately the game of just being the best you that you can possibly be. And when I get into the lesson, I have a little diagram that I'll draw out for you to solidify this, but I'll just explain it here. So level 1 is what I call the athlete. Now, don't get caught up in the terms. This can mean a lot of different things, but it just keeps it simple. Level 1 is athlete. And so at the athlete level, you're identifying these major areas of your life. These are the life types that you want to nurture for yourself. So basically, level 1 is all about nurturing yourself and really getting clear on your vision and what's important to you. Level 2 is the coach level. And so this is where you still have these different areas of your life you're nurturing, but now they're beginning to expand because you really kind of solidified a system to integrate them all. There's still kind of these separate things, like you might have your creator over here, your leader over here, your teacher over here, your master over here, whatever your life types are, queen, priest, it can be any number of things. It's very personal to you. So there's still kind of these different branches, but now they're beginning to expand, and you really kind of got it nailed down of like, okay, I have a system, I have this seamless structure that is helping me to continuously nurture these areas to the point where it's just naturally becoming an expression for me to want to serve in some way. And again, that service could just be, I'm just being the best me that I can possibly be, and doing it in a way where I can also just show and share to the rest of me, the others, of what that potential is that I've been able to realize within myself. And then at the leader level, these things are, these different areas of your life are, and this is level 3, coach level 2, level 3 leader. These different areas of your life are now beginning to expand to the point where they're starting to overlap. Okay, so if you imagine like 4 spheres, just to keep it simple, there might be, and these are each represent your different life types. So these spheres are expanding more and more through the progression of each of the levels. And now at the leader level, there's beginning to be this overlap where you're starting to see and you're starting to express these different areas in ways where it's just becoming more and more of this seamless thing. So like, for instance, because I feel like me personally, I'm just now kind of reaching into the beginning stages of the leader level. And these aren't necessarily, as you can imagine, not like cut and dry, like now you're here, now you're here. It's more of like this continuum, this spectrum that has a lot of different gradients. So at the leader level, as I was saying, everything is starting to overlap. So you start to recognize like, oh, here's how me expressing myself through music relates to the training, and how that relates to me designing experiences, and how that relates to me teaching. And that's just, just my own life types as an example. And you start to see how all these things connect. And then you're starting to recognize, oh, this can actually, what was these separate areas of my life, even though I've been nurturing them separately, and I've kind of created this seamless system to nurture them on their own, now they're coming together. Now it's just kind of this one act of being, this one performance, if you will, that includes all of these different things. And then at the master level, which again, now this is a little bit more theoretical because I'm not actually here yet. Although again, it's kind of a spectrum. So there may be like pieces, little bits of you, little taste that are at these different levels. And again, you can have some tastes that are some aspects of you that are still at a lower level. And again, this isn't right, wrong, good or bad. There's nothing wrong with being at a lower level. So in Ken Wilber's teachings, he would call this, you have different lines of intelligence, where, you can be very high mathematically intelligent, but emotionally intelligent, you might still be a child. So just an example, we won't get too deep into that. But if you want to learn more about that, Finding Radical Wholeness, I believe, by Ken Wilber, very good book. Okay, so then the master level, it's like these different areas, they're expanding and kind of overlapping in the leader level. Master level, it all becomes just one. It's just you just playing is the highest, most effective, most efficient, most productive thing that you could possibly do. Just like a child, because you see how these things come full circle. A child's only real job, only real way of service is to play. That's how it learns. Although at that level, it's like this unconscious play. It's just playing because that's just what it does. Just like a bird just flies and does bird stuff, not because it's consciously thinking like, oh, I need to do this because I'm a bird. It's just being a bird. Or like a tree isn't thinking about how to be a tree. It's just being a tree because that's what it is. So at the child level, there's this unconscious simplicity, just the child being a child because that's just what a child is. And then at the master level, now there's this conscious simplicity because you've moved through the ultimate complexity of all these different areas and you're nurturing these different areas and branches of your life, and then they're starting to come together. Remember, love is a unifying force, y'all. They're starting to come together. And then at the master level, it becomes all just one thing again. And now it's just play. You are just playing the game of life, and your play, your beingness, your Christ consciousness is the highest level of service that you could possibly have, because to a Christ, everyone is Christ. To a Buddha, everyone is Buddha. You feel me? Okay. So that is extending your service. On the whiteboard lesson, again, I'll draw it out. You can get a little bit more of a solidified image. But That was powerful, y'all. I hope you understand the kind of implications here, because like I said, we're expanding now. We are expanding in these last few lessons, expanding, hopefully, well, it's not even hopefully, it's just inevitable. We're expanding to fucking infinity. But the paradox is that infinity leads to nothingness. All right? Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I'll see you next time. Peace.